I assume this is going to be a shambles. Hopefully everybody can hear and see something. A little bit ahead of schedule starting. That's okay. Because I'm really just still fiddling around with this more advanced streaming stuff than I've ever used before. We used to have a live audio podcast, and it actually went out on YouTube using something called Hangouts on Air. That's no longer a thing. But then we switched to this more modern streaming service, and we're just going to see how it goes. The software I'm using is called Streamlabs, and I'm not expert with it. I expect I'll become better with it over time. The subject for tonight is episode 0. And like I said, it's going to be a shambles, and I am not going to apologize because we'll do better in the future, I promise. Okay, well, this is just going to be mostly me talking. I might show you a video or a picture or two at some point during this, but right now it's going to be relatively short because it's episode 0. It's on episode 1. Episode 1 will not be until about, well, it'd be about 2 weeks from now, maybe 3, for reasons that I won't go into, but it's just, that's how it is. And I hope to have at that point at least, one good guest and maybe even a panel. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And so, what is it that we're doing here? What is API Case Files Live? Well, it's basically the API Case Files podcast live on video with guests and a panel. And it's going to be more of an unscripted discussion. And as you probably are aware, API Case Files has usually been at least somewhat scripted. This will be considerably less so, although I will probably have notes. Right now I'm looking at my iPad with my notes, things I want to go over. So what episode 0 is about is just familiarizing the audience with what we'll be doing and trying to recruit you to help us out. Now, the discussions that we'll be having will be somewhat structured. There will be defined topics in most cases, and we will moderate the extent necessary to keep things on track. Some unscripted shows I've been involved with in the past, the plan was simply no plan. Just get the discussion kicked off and let it go where it would go. And that there's that's not what we'll be doing. So what are we? Well, if you're not familiar with API, we are a UFO research organization. We are small. We're independent. We've been around for almost 14 years. We're founded in November of 2011 by Antonio Paris, who's no longer with us. He's alive as far as I know, but he's no longer with the organization. Excuse me. And Antonio led the organization for about 6 years and then decided to move on. And since then, it's been a relatively small group of people scattered across the country. We were called Maryland Aerial Phenomena Investigations. And after about a year, we dropped the Maryland because we had people from all over. And we have focused primarily on field investigation. That is, we get reports and we do the best we can to track down the facts about those reports. And write up an investigation report, a report of investigation that gives anyone who's interested in these cases a lot of information that they can use, either to compare it to their other cases that they're investigating, or to even dig into a wide variety of cases and look for patterns. So we try to include as much as possible some really good data that you use as an investigator, as a researcher. And about 2014, about 3 years in, we started a podcast called API Case Files. We've done about 20 episodes of that. We've done about 20 episodes of something else called API Conversations. And those are all audio podcasts, and they're still available. And we're pretty proud of them, although there's always things you can improve on. This is our first live video webcast. It will also be available on audio and available offline. So API has continued in this vein. Our caseload has gone down, but so has our staff. So we're actually a bit behind on our cases right now. And we'd love to catch up. If you are interested in becoming an API investigator, get in touch. I'll have a link available for you, and you can, I'll put that, put in the description of the video when we're done. And this, we can talk, and we can decide if API is right for you. It's not right for everyone. That's certainly true. It's more work than you might think, and more time consuming than you might think. We don't do little fluffy investigations. We dig as deep as we can. And today we explain why. So anyway, that's who we are. And what is this new podcast series about? It's, like I said, it's very much like API Case Files, but it's going to be also quite a bit about specific cases, and that's what API Case Files is normally focused on. We're going to focus on not only cases that API does, but on other cases as well. And we will frequently have guests on to discuss interesting cases as well as other interesting issues in the UFO field, the topics that are of interest to everyone. It's not going to be about belief or dogma or denial of dogma. When it is speculative, as it sometimes will be, we'll flag it as such. We'll say we're speculating here. We don't really know. There's only enough debunking and flagging of fallacies to clear a path. Debunk is boring. We're not really that interested in debunking, although sometimes we have to do it. When we are wrong, we'll admit it. And I'll talk later about a book recommendation that you might find interesting. It's called The Scout Mindset. The Scout Mindset, being wrong is a much higher cost than being true to a set of beliefs, or not being true to a set of beliefs. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Deep conversations with well-informed people from varying perspectives. There's not going to be just people who subscribe to a particular point of view about UFOs. There will be skeptics. There will be people who are skeptical about many things. There will be people who have a strong belief in some aspects of the phenomena, and that's okay. As long as those people can articulate those views clearly and can have a back and forth about it, taking everything personally, we get along well. We'll also have a panel discussion. The panels are going to be, I see a panel as about 3 people, rotating panelists that come on every few shows, and just duke it out over all kinds of things in a friendly spirit. And it's not about making up your mind about UFOs. It's not about getting to the final answer. It's just the opposite. It's about clearing away the cognitive debris so we can see more clearly what the big questions are. And I mentioned we'll talk about real UFO cases frequently. We'll go in deeply into some of them. We'll talk about the investigative process. We'll talk about a lot of cases that we have successfully identified. That is, we know what that was. And not just the easy ones. There's a lot of those, but some of the tough ones as well. The ones that are even controversial with an API that we didn't all agree on what the identification should be, or if there should be one. Discussion of what the research questions are that we should be addressing. To me, that's very important. Just doing field investigation is not enough, never has been. It's about addressing deep research questions about what people are really experiencing, why they report it, how they report it, and what it means. And it's not about highly speculative philosophical issues. It's more about what questions can we answer with the data that we can get. There's not going to be much about personalities. There's not going to be much about evidence-free claims, and there's not going to be a whole lot about trust me statements. We've all been through that enough. It's boring and it goes nowhere. So we're going to talk about what we can actually really learn. And I'm going to try to keep it focused on that. I won't always be the host of this show. I hope that we can also eventually build up a cadre of a few hosts, different hosts for different weeks and different months, and let each host have a different style, different approach. That's fine. Okay, I should point out that you can watch this live and ask questions live, and we are happy to answer questions. And hostile questions are obviously not what we're looking for, and by hostile, I mean, nasty, spirited questions. The question can be deeply questioned. It can say, we think you're wrong, and here's why, and what do you think of that? That's fine. Controversial questions are great. And you can ask these questions, and we will do everything we can to answer it. If we can't answer it, we'll say so. I'm not going to fake it. After the live show is over, you can watch it on YouTube whenever you want, a week or month, a year later. And you can also listen to audio. We'll put it on the audio feed for the other API case files. Podcasts are on the conversations and the regular audio API case files, which is sort of a magazine, somewhat scripted audio podcast. Okay. The thing that we're really trying to get to is a clear conversation between the honest brokers on the topic. We know there's a lot of big personalities. We're not really that interested in talking to those people. It's not the loud people that matter. It's the quieter people who have been steadily plugging away at various research topics for a very long time, as well as the quieter people who are experiencing things. And we will talk to, if they'll agree to appear on the show, they don't have to turn on their webcams, but we'll try to talk to some witnesses as well, directly on the show. I think that would be very helpful for the audience to understand what kind of people are these who are reporting these experiences. It's not the kooks you think they are. Maybe you don't think that. I hope you don't. Now there are some people who probably should reconsider their perspective on things. Maybe we all should, but those people are not the ones that we usually get. We get very sincere people who remember very strange things. Why do they remember those things? Well, that's one of the research questions that we have. We will be primarily talking about UFO experiences. That is, people who've seen things outdoors, I won't say in the sky, but outdoors, that have left them deeply puzzled and even troubled, even frightened. We get a lot of cases like that. Some of them, even the ones that are emotionally stirring, we sometimes are able to identify them. So there's something going on there that's not just about aliens, spaceships. There's something about human feeling and human psychology that we don't fully understand yet. And there are other big questions that API is, I think, taking the lead in trying to answer. Everyone will say to you things like, okay, well, why, when there are so many cell phone cameras around, are we not getting good images of UFOs? And I think that's a fair question, but I don't think it's a slam dunk proof that there aren't any UFOs. In fact, we know that there are. We do have some decent videos, so nothing that's, broadcast quality, but we do have enough information to say that maybe the reason we don't get these videos is because of something psychological or something about the phenomenon itself, or some combination of those things. And so we are asking people who did not get their phones out and shoot a video why they didn't. And we're accumulating data about that. We're also accumulating data about the people who report to us. We want to know what kind of person reports a UFO experience. What else do they have in their background that might correlate with that? We're not very highly qualified social scientists, but we're going to make a start at that and maybe get some people interested who really do have the skills to make a real research project of that. So, and we'll be talking about that more. I want to spend at least half an hour on what we call the supplemental questionnaire. And I hope that you'll tune in for that. So if you want to be on the panel, just contact us at API, aerial-phenomenon.org. There will be a link in the the description of this video. I'll also, it's on our front page at aerial-phenomenon.org. I apologize for the singular phenomenon. I know most of you are thinking it's not one phenomenon, it's many. And I think you're probably right. So, but it's aerial-phenomenon.org, or easier to remember, reportaufo.org. Just go to that, and you will get you'll get our entire website, not just our reporting form. You'll see a bunch of tabs. You can click on them. You click on Contact Us, and that will get you to the. You get an email out to us that will know that you're interested in being on a panel, and then we'll have a conversation, and maybe even have you on as a guest in the show, And then if that goes well, maybe you'll be on the panel. And the panel, of course, like you said, it's not a weekly commitment. It's just whenever you're available. Now, I do think we're going to do this on Thursdays. If you have an idea for a better day of the week, by all means, let's hear it. Thursday works out well for me. It will not be super late. We'll generally be done by 11. We will start around 9:30 Eastern time. That will allow folks on the West Coast of the U.S. time to get home and watch the show. Unfortunately, people in Europe will have to stay up very late. I wish that were not the case, but turns out the Earth really is round and really does turn. So we'll not be able to have those at a good time for them. We may schedule a few special shows just for European panelists and European guests, and maybe have them earlier in the day or on the weekend. So I'm open to that. And by all means, let me know what you think. I'm open to all feedback, and I want to get everybody involved in not only deciding what kind of content the show should have, but what kind of form. And the show, and also what kind of guests. And if you think you'd like to be a guest on the show, by all means, contact me. By the way, we are on Blue Sky a lot, and at API Case Files. Search us up there. I'm also on there, Paul D. Carr, on my own personal account, which doesn't have much to do with UFOs. It's more about music and politics and whatever I'm thinking about at the time. Douglas Adams. So by all means, follow us there. And we are also on Mastodon, but frankly, we're getting even worse engagement on Mastodon than anywhere else. So, and we're on Reddit. We have an API Case Files subreddit. Hardly anybody visits. If you visit, I would be real happy about that. We might spend more time updating that subreddit. And of course, you can post there. What else? Well, I'd like you to stay tuned. I will announce next week, I hope, when the episode 1 will be. I think it will probably be the following week, so 2 weeks from today, and worst case 3 weeks. And we will see you then. And I hope to have a guest on this. I have several people in mind. I'm going to start asking them to appear first thing tomorrow. And I would hope you would, if the guest is somebody you tend to disagree with, I would hope that would not deter you from tuning in and listening and asking questions. And I'll even bring you on to Zoom or whatever platform we're using on that particular night and let you ask your question and interact with the guest. I'm all for that kind of interaction, so long as it stays civil and we're not talking past each other too much. So see you then. We hope to have a really good back and forth on all the subject matter of UFOs. And yes, we do know that there's been disinformation by the DOD for a long time. We already knew that. Before I go, I'm going to show you a video that was recently submitted to us from Wolverhampton in the UK, which is a town, I believe it's not very far from Liverpool, and in central England. And I would like you to have a look at that video and tell me what you think. And if you don't have any idea, that's fine. But we're always interested in explanations that we missed So let us know what you think. I'm going to play it now. I'm going to switch over. So thank you. This is just an episode 0. We're not doing a whole lot of UFO stuff today. It's more about what we'll be talking about in the future episodes, starting probably 2 weeks from now. I will let you know as soon as I know. And I will probably know within a few days from now. So, and I also hope to announce a guest. I'd really like to have a guest on. And if you want to be on the panel, get in touch. If you want to be an API field investigator, get in touch. I'll point you in the right direction. And if you want to be just a guest on the show, you think you'd have something to contribute, get in touch. And we'll see you later. Bye.